AEW's Double or Nothing event comes to an end with Jon Moxley retaining his world championship against Will Ospreay and continuing his reign of terror. Fans are deflated, the arena is silenced, and AEW seems to be heading towards another dark age. But just when all hope seems lost and the fans prepare for another month of Moxley's tyranny, the screen cuts to black and a haunting tribal melody starts echoing throughout the arena. The fans are in complete anticipation as the mysterious music builds to a crescendo. Moxley stands confused in the ring, looking towards the entrance ramp, when he's met by a familiar silhouette emerging through the smoke. A ghost from his past, a brother from a different world. It's none other than the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and the crowd reaction is absolutely deafening. The arena erupts into pure chaos as disbelief washes over every face in attendance. Reigns stands on the ramp, Mox and Reigns lock eyes, with years of history flooding back between them. Double or Nothing goes off the air with the shocking arrival of the head of the table, and AEW will never be the same ever again. The arrival of Roman Reigns in AEW has sent shockwaves throughout the wrestling industry.
He's here! Roman Reigns is here!
After his WWE contract expired earlier in the year, rumors and speculations ran rampant throughout the wrestling community. Will he transition to Hollywood? Will he return at SummerSlam? The internet was buzzing all summer, but the tribal chief shocked the entire wrestling world and chose AEW. The anticipation reaches fever pitch as Tony Khan announces that Roman Reigns will make his first AEW Dynamite appearance on this week's show. The atmosphere is absolutely electric. The fans are on their feet, and out comes the head of the table. Roman Reigns graces the AEW ring for the first time as his commanding presence and unmatched aura captivates the entire arena. Reigns steps into the ring, takes a microphone, and looks around the capacity crowd as the fans start chanting for the OTC. But just as Reigns is about to address the AEW universe, Kenny Omega interrupts the coronation of the big dog. Omega, who just won a multi-man battle royal at Double or Nothing to earn an AEW world title shot, struts down to the ring as the fans completely lose their minds. Omega enters the ring and locks eyes with Reigns as dueling chants of Omega and OTC echo throughout the arena. Reigns and Omega stand face to face as time seemingly stands still. Omega welcomes Reigns to AEW and says he's been waiting for this moment. Omega says that while Reigns might have gotten his opportunities handed to him back where he came from, but here in AEW, you don't get anything handed to you. You have to earn everything. Omega says that he has earned the right to challenge for the AEW World title, so Reigns has to wait to settle his little family drama with Moxley and tells him to get in line. Reigns doesn't flinch and smirks at Omega. Reigns takes the mic and tells Omega that he doesn't wait in any line. The line starts where he stands. Reigns says he's not here to play games or collect participation trophies. He's here to save AEW and turn it into the island of relevancy. And if Omega has a problem with that, then Reigns will just kick him off his island. The crowd erupts to this response as tensions escalate and the two megastars come nose to nose. The atmosphere is electric, and it looks like fists are about to fly. But then the arena lights flicker, and Tony Khan appears on the big screen. Khan says that while he appreciates the passion, he can't have two of his biggest assets just destroying each other. Khan says that they'll settle it in 2 weeks at AEW Grand Slam, when for the first time ever, Kenny Omega takes on Roman Reigns in a match with no limits, no DQ, anything goes, and the winner will be the first in line to challenge for the AEW World title. The stage is set and Reigns and Omega absolutely tear the house down at Grand Slam. 30 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes pass, but neither man can put the other away. Spears, V-triggers, Superman punches, everything is thrown at each other, and the fans witness a masterpiece unfolding before their eyes. Towards the climax of the match, Reigns scales the top rope, but Omega catches him perfectly. He hoists Reigns up and hits him with a devastating one-winged angel, but the momentum carries Reigns out of the ring. Omega rolls Reigns back into the ring and tries to position him for another finisher, but Reigns manages to slide off and counter Omega with not one, not two, but 3 back-to-back spears that target Omega's injured ribs that have been a lingering weakness throughout his career. Reigns picks up the hard-fought victory and earns the right to challenge Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Speaking of the devil, Reigns' celebration is cut short as Mox's sinister entrance music echoes throughout the arena. Mox emerges from the crowd for the first time since Double or Nothing and silently stares down at his former Shield brother with cold, calculating eyes. But as Reigns is locked in this intense stare-down with with Moxley, Claudio and Pac blindside Reigns and start a vicious assault on the tribal chief. Mox slowly walks to the ring as his henchmen continue their ruthless beatdown. But just as Mox is about to enter the ring to deliver the final blow, Reigns manages to fend off Claudio and Pac and stands face-to-face with his former brother-in-arms. Mox lays the AEW World title in the middle of the ring as the tension reaches a boiling point. It seems like they're about to settle their differences right here, but Claudio and Pac attack Reigns once again. However, this time, Kenny Omega surprisingly joins the fray and helps Reigns even the odds. Omega extends his hand to Reigns in a show of respect, and Grand Slam goes off the air with Reigns and Omega displaying mutual respect as Moxley and his Death Riders retreat into the crowd. Dynamite kicks off next week with footage of Omega arriving in the parking lot, still nursing his injuries from the brutal Grand Slam encounter. But just as Omega is about to step into the arena, he is jumped by Claudio, Pac, and the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley. Mox and his henchmen brutalize Omega in the parking lot and specifically target his already damaged ribs as the best bout machine is left coughing up blood and writhing in agony. Claudio and Pac continue assaulting Omega as Mox makes his way to the ring and the crowd boos mercilessly. Mox enters the ring and grabs a microphone with that familiar intensity in his eyes. He says that his entire life he has been fighting against injustice. He has been the only one who has been willing to expose the injustice of the system and the corruption that runs deep in professional wrestling. A decade ago, he thought he found a brother who he could stand side by side with to fight that injustice and tear down the system that held them back. But it turned out that brother himself was a product of the system, a golden boy who benefited from the very corruption Mox was trying to destroy. Moxley says that brother was none other than Roman Reigns. Moxley says he understood he couldn't change the unjust system from within, so he decided to escape that prison and he came to AEW to build something pure and free from corruption. He built AEW in his vision, brick by brick. He bled for every match. He gave his blood, sweat, tears, and his very soul to this company. But then Roman Reigns came crawling back, once again trying to infiltrate and turn AEW into another corporate playground. Mox says that he won't let that happen, and whenever Roman Reigns decides to cash in his title shot, that night will be the last day of his career. The purveyor of violence promises that he'll do whatever it takes to protect AEW from becoming another corporate wasteland and leaves through the crowd. In the main event of the show, Mox faces Kota Ibushi, who is hell-bent on making Moxley pay for what he did to Omega earlier in the night. Mox dominates the majority of the match, but Ibushi refuses to stay down, fighting with the heart of a warrior for his fallen golden lover. Towards the finishing stretch, Ibushi tries to put Moxley away, but Mox counters with 3 consecutive paradigm shift DDTs to pick up the victory and stand tall over another victim. Just when it looks like the show is coming to an end, the arena lights flicker and the camera cuts to backstage. Claudio and Pac are seen lying motionless in pain on the floor as Roman Reigns picks up the camera from the ground, bringing it close to his face in a throwback to the days of the Shield. Reigns tells Mox that he can gaslight himself all he wants. He can delude the wrestling world into believing his twisted agenda of injustice, but Reigns sees right through him. Reigns says that Mox loves to hide behind his philosophies and his henchmen doing his dirty work. He loves to blame everyone and everything except for the one man who's truly responsible, and that is Moxley himself. Reigns continues, his voice filled with years of buried resentment that a decade ago, Mox ran away from the other place because he knew he would never be the top guy as long as Roman Reigns existed. Reigns says his shadow was too big for Mox back then, and his presence is even bigger now, and that when he looked into Moxley's eyes last week, he saw nothing but fear. The OTC says that next week at Fyter Fest, when they finally settle this blood feud, Reigns will drive Moxley out of AEW just like he drove him out of WWE. Only this time, Mox will have nobody to blame but himself. And you can believe that, little brother. The stage is set for the ultimate showdown. Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, AEW World Championship. A decade of brotherhood turned bitter rivalry. A decade of jealousy, shattered bonds, thirst for power, and it has finally come to this moment of reckoning. The bell rings, and what follows is 30 minutes of pure carnage, unrelenting violence, and absolute brutality. The fight spills outside the ring, onto the ramp, into the crowd, and throughout the entire arena. Mox throws everything he has at his former Shield brother, but Reigns refuses to stay down. Reigns gives his best, but even he can't help but acknowledge the fact that this is a Jon Moxley who is completely unhinged from his Dean Ambrose days. In the final stretch of the match, Mox delivers a devastating low blow on Reigns and hits him with a paradigm shift DDT. But instead of going for the pin, Mox lines up his former brother and hits Reigns with a vicious curb stomp, adding insult to injury. Mox hooks the leg for the cover. It looks like it's all over, but Reigns kicks out at the last possible second. The crowd is absolutely unglued as Mox starts losing his composure completely. Mox exposes the steel turnbuckle as the referee tries to restore order. Mox shoves away the referee and leaves himself wide open for a spear from Reigns, but Reigns isn't finished yet. Reigns lines Mox up for another devastating spear, but Mox manages to counter and tries to hit another paradigm shift. A sequence of reversals ensues with Mox delivering another low blow behind the referee's back. Mox tries to humiliate Reigns and attempts a mocking Superman punch, but Reigns moves out of the way and Mox goes face first against the exposed turnbuckle. Mox turns around, still dizzy from the impact from the turnbuckle, only to get cut in half by a thunderous spear by the tribal chief. And just like that, Roman Reigns is the new AEW World Champion. Confetti falls from the rafters. The fans erupt in a mixture of shock and awe, and a new era has officially begun in AEW. The Roman Empire has arrived, and AEW will never be the same again. Reigns opens the show next week on Dynamite to a hero's welcome. The AEW universe has completely embraced their new tribal chief and undisputed world champion. Reigns takes the microphone and says his only mission in AEW is to turn it into the island of relevancy. Reigns says that he is here to elevate AEW to the promised land, and if he was willing to destroy his own brother to achieve that goal, then just imagine what he'll do to anyone who tries to stand in his way. Reigns declares that he is the head of the table, the tribal chief, and if anyone has a problem with that, they can step up and acknowledge him face to face.
Will acknowledge me.
Reigns drops the microphone with authority, and just when it looks like he's about to make his exit as the undisputed king of AEW,